Yo, what's going on, guys? This is your boy Jeff for Phantom Falcon. Today I'm going to be doing a first impression / how to start video on Satisfactory. Now, I know that some of the things that I might say in this video might be changed when the full game comes out, but overall I don't think that the game's going to change all that much from now until the time that the game comes out. Satisfactory is a new game on the Epic Games launcher. You can get it if you signed up for the Alpha Key giveaway that happened last year, like November or something like that. But if you didn't have the time to sign up for the alpha, which literally only took like a minute or so, and you just had to fill out a form saying like, oh, this is my PC specs, this is, what I've played before. But it doesn't matter, because if you did that or not, because if you didn't do it, then you just have to wait until the 19th of March. The 19th of March is when the game's going to go into a public alpha instead of kind of like a private alpha. Now, there is one thing that I want to say about this game before this video starts, is that everything in this alpha is subject to change, meaning that anything and everything that you see in this game can be changed drastically. And if you guys are encountering a lot of bugs in the game, doesn't mean that there are going to be lots of bugs in the full release. Remember, this is an alpha. Not that this game is buggy or anything. I'd say that it would probably have to be more polished than Battlefield 5 on its release. So that's all I really want to say for now, so let's get right into the video. So the first thing that I want to say about Satisfactory is that getting and launching the game is super easy. It took me about 20 minutes to download and launch the game, and then getting into the game took me a better part of about another 10 minutes. When you first get into a game, you'll start off in outer space, you're in a little pod, and eventually that pod will start to fall. Now, the falling takes about 5 minutes to touch down to the ground, but that's not too long. It gives you enough time to go grab a glass of water, and you're going to need it, because you're going to be playing this game for no less than 3 hours when you first get the game.
Chart the planet and gather resources to provide desired results and improve your infrastructure. Make sure to report any unusual discoveries to R&D for analysis. Expand your factories, outposts, and pipelines through automation and augmentation. That's it. Get to work and be effective. Warning, planetfall imminent. Please remain seated during full procedure. Atmospheric entry in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Planetfall procedure initialized. Ensure the integrity of your multi-purpose exploration suit is at 100%. Remember, efficiency first. Godspeed.
Now, when you finally get out your pod, you're going to need to disassemble that pod. So you're going to need to press F on it and then hold your left mouse button, and then that will give you your resources in order for you to start your journey. The second thing that you're going to have to do is something small, but it will change the way that everything is going to have to go in the game. You got to press C, I believe, to scan for iron. The first time that I saw the scan, I'm like, holy shit, what is this? It is amazing. And then I just remembered that, oh, it's looking for resources for me.
Onboarding. First objective, please dismantle the drop pod. The resulting materials will be repurposed to construct a habitat and utility base, from now on referred to as the hub. Note, Fix-It Incorporated is cost-effective and efficient. We do not waste. Second objective. Please ensure you have your Fix-It Incorporated Xeno Zapper equipped before leaving the drop zone. Note: according to Fix-It regulations, every pioneer should have access to a means of defense against extraterrestrial threats. Initial scans reveal coloring properties in the flower petals. Further analysis required. Third objective. Please familiarize yourself with the resource scanner to find iron. Note: the acquisition of iron is considered essential in preparation for all future objectives.
So now that you have found a place that has iron, you're going to want to build your hub somewhere nearby. This should be off to the side of wherever you're going to be putting the production of your factory. And another thing that I want to say before you build anything is make sure that you have a ton of space for you to work. Whatever you think you need, times that by at least 4, because you're going to need this by the end of the game, because your factory is going to look something like this, if not magnitudes bigger. Now that you have a hub down, this is where the fun begins. You're going to need to find some iron, some copper, and some limestone. Those are the 3 things that you're going to need to build everything else in the world. So the first and most important thing that you're going to need will be iron. At this time, I think most of the things in the game are made of iron, so be sure to get tons of it. Not just stock up on it, but also build lots of miners. The second thing you're going to need to look for is copper. Copper is used mainly for wires, and that's the only thing that I can think of at this time that you're going to need. But you're still going to need it in large amounts, due in part to some quests needing 1,500 copper coils. Now, the last thing that you're going to need is limestone. Now, this stuff sucks. It's not used as much as everything else, so I always forget to grab it when I'm starting a world and make it into a production line. And then when I do need it, I don't have any of it. So don't be an idiot like me and just leave the limestone be, and make sure to put a mine down on that thing and make it into concrete, because you're going to need this stuff later in the game. And one thing that's not really something that you can mine, it's more of something that you're going to need to power your base. This is biofuel. Biofuel is the best fuel in the game, aside from coal, but I never got to coal in this video. I did get to coal in a separate world, or I got into that world, in the world that I'm showing you guys right now. It's just kind of after I stopped recording. And actually I haven't even done anything with the coal yet, so that, yeah, so. But keeping on the topic of biofuel, you're going to need to grab as much leaves and as much wood as you can possibly carry. Preferably wood over leaves, because wood gives you way more biomass, which can in turn make more biofuel. But regardless, you're still going to need thousands of this stuff. So the building in this game is super satisfying. No, there's no pun intended there. I'm legitimately serious. It is so satisfying to watch a building build, because it's just it's amazing. I have no words to show how pleasant it is to watch something be built in this game. I do know of some things while they're building that could be improved upon. One thing that I do wish that was a little bit more flashy was how mines are built. They're so big and they require very few resources to make. I do wish that there was something like a crane in the animation while you're building it, simply because something that big doesn't come out of like 20 or even 5 iron plates. In the alpha, I don't know if there's going to be any updates later in order for you to make a better smelter, but for now, you're stuck only being able to feed 2 smelters off of 1 mine, and that is for continuous production. So after you have the basic production of iron, copper, and limestone, you're going to need to work on making some iron plates, iron rods, and coils. They are the 3 things that you're going to be using the most, and you're going to need metric tons of them. I should have said this a little bit earlier in the video, but one thing I do want to mention right now is that you make sure not to overload your power. Because if you overload your power in this game, instead of it being like Factorio, where your factory just kind of slows down, in Satisfactory, your factory just shuts off. I do wish that this was different, so that you could, if you lost one bio generator, you didn't have fuel in just one, and your factory shut down because of it, that's kind of annoying. So I kind of wish that if you had more than like 5 or something like that, it would just slow down by like however many percentages out of 5 if you lose one. I guess that would be like 20. No, that would be 20%. Yeah. Now, for the better part of the beginning of the game, you only have access to one bio generator, and that will only be able to power, I think, up to 5 different machines. And you don't get a second one until your hub is level 3 or 4. I can't remember which one you get a new one at. But once you get to hub level 5, you'll be able to build biogenerators as you need. This kind of is a dumb thing in the game. I kind of wish that you could just build biogenerators as you needed already instead of having to unlock them. But that kind of restricts the amount of progress you're able to make in a short amount of time in the beginning of the game. But after you have most of your basic production, you know, you have your iron, you have your copper, you have your limestone, and you have your power. This is where this video kind of stops helping due to the game being like a cookie cutter formula and more or less just you needing more advanced stuff that you know, it just takes a little bit more of those basic materials to make. So really in the beginning of the game it's more or less just you running around doing everything like crazy, and then you gotta work on using those basic materials to turn it into more advanced materials and so on and so forth. Now that kind of concludes the you know, how to start your base part of this video, but I do want to go on and say what I do and what I don't like about the game. So starting off with something that I like is when you first start the game. You start off in this big flashy way and a pod coming down from space. That's awesome, and it is something that is truly unique to this game. Now I do wish that you could skip this intro because it does take a while for you to go through, and after you start your second, third, or even fourth world, everything that it tells you, like the basic tutorial that it gives you, becomes kind of pointless. But other than that, starting a fresh world is super fun and super nice. You start off at a really fast pace doing tons of things, but the time that you go from running around doing literally everything to standing around and waiting for things is super quick. This actually happened while I was making this video. I was working on the script while I was waiting for about 500 concrete to be made. Like I said, you can go from needing to do everything by hand to doing nothing by hand besides getting fuel for your base. And in all honesty, if you're just standing around, go out, get some fuel for your base because you're gonna need it. Going on to the topic of fuel, the way that you get it is just so horrible. You have to run around for so long and get so little out of it. So biofuel, I do wish that there was a way for me to keep the kind of cleanness that it has by putting down, let's say, a greenhouse, a few crafters, and that's your biofuel. But after writing this script, I did learn that there was a coal generator, like I said towards the beginning of the video, that can power your base without you needing to do any manual work, so that kind of negates any of the biofuel. But I will admit it's kind of weird to see somebody going from biofuel to a fossil fuel, something that's limited compared to something that's unlimited. But staying on the topic of biofuel, because this is a video for the beginning of the game, once you get to the biofuel instead of the biomass or just putting leaves into the burners, your biofuel, a stack of 200, will last you a better part of about 50 minutes. Now 50 minutes in this game can go by really quickly, and you can actually lose track of time really easy. This recording, what I thought only took about an hour or so, took me about 2.5 hours to make. So you can really see where you can lose the time. Now I know saying that 200 biofuel lasts you about 50 minutes, but that can go by really fast, and if you have, let's say, 10 bio burners, that's still about 2,000 biofuel that you need to power the base, and that only lasts for 50 minutes. So you can imagine how much biofuel you go through and how much you're going to need to find and how much you're going to need to grab in order to continuously power your base. And I do think once your base gets to a massive state, that the only thing that you're going to be able to do and have time for is to constantly run around, grab leaves, grab wood, and make biofuel out of it, because there's just, you know, it goes through biofuel so fast. So that's all I really have to say about the fuel part, but I do want to move on to the health system. It's a bit weird in a game like this. Having a health system in a game that doesn't really have a combat system is really kind of weird to see. And there's really one of two ways that I could see that they could better this. They could either add more enemies with more guns or more weapons, or they could just remove the things entirely and turn the existing mobs that damage that hurt you into enemies that damage your base. I would feel like this would make the game a little bit more lively and make the combat in the game just a little bit more exciting. Because you'd see this guy breaking your base and you'd be like, hey, can you knock that off? Or you'd have run into a guy that's trying to kill you, and he's doing lots of damage, and you pull out like an AR-15 and you just shoot him. And that's kind of how I would spice up combat in this game. Now, when you actually do need to heal, I wish that instead of you just kind of being like old Minecraft where you just eat something and it regens your health, I wish it was kind of like current Minecraft where you'd have a hunger bar that would slowly deplete, and when you're hurt and you're healing, it depletes even faster. But other than that, it's kind of nice to see, to show that you can't just jump off a 100-foot cliff and expect to live. I do wish that there was food that is a little bit better in the game instead of restoring just one bit of health or even a half bit of health. I wish that there was one thing that you could just eat and your health is entirely full from next to empty. Now, the building in this game is super cool and super flashy and lets me know that not only am I not on Earth, but it makes me feel like I'm more in the future. But that's also pretty darn sad in this game. Because the buildings are so big and so packed with detail, I don't think that this game is going to be able to handle huge factories like the ones that you see in Factorio. Staying on the topic of performance, I do believe that your performance will probably be the best with the GTX 1080. I would probably recommend an RX 580 or a GTX 1060 for this game, but we will have to see on what the developers say that you probably should have, or I would think that they'd lower down or try and compress the graphics for the game. Probably my favorite building to see built is the space elevator. It is truly massive and is something that blew my mind when I saw it, because I never thought that the space elevator was going to be that big. And seeing it be built out of something, it's just out of this world. Like, just the space elevator is just massive, it's so full of detail, and it's just amazing. Now, after I was finished recording, I did kind of keep playing, and I just wanted to see what happens when you finally got one tier of something done in the space elevator, and turns out it's nothing. Just lights kind of go up, and that's just its normal thing, and yeah, not much happens. It'd really be cool to see something like the elevator actually going up and down as you loaded stuff onto it. Now, I do think that the space elevator is going to be the main focus of the game after you get it. For many reasons, and my first reason is just because of how big the thing is and how many ports it can have stuff going into. Staying on the topic of automation, I do like the fact that you're able to automate how the space elevator is built. I just dislike how the biomass generators aren't able to have stuff go into them automatically, or even the hub for when you're initially researching stuff. I would have loved to see some ports on the side for you to pump stuff into, so that you could watch the progress kind of go up instead of having to go around, collect all the things that you need, and then just throwing it into the hub. So that's really all I have to say about this game. I do think that it is a game that's worth buying overall, but if the thought train stops in your head, the game can get quite boring quite quick, just because you're not doing anything in the game. So as long as you keep thinking of some things to do in the game, you should probably be okay. And I do think that this is going to have Factorio tier play hours, if not a little bit less, just due to the game being a lot shorter and a lot more performance intense than Factorio. Like, the amount of time that you can go to play in a Factorio world just to finish it on average, to finish a game in Factorio is about 20 hours, where I could see that this game could probably only take 7, 8, or maybe 10 hours at the maximum. But we will have to see because the game's still in alpha, and by the looks of it, there's a lot more stuff that you will be able to cram into the hub in order for you to research. Now, I wouldn't categorize this game as a Factorio-like game. It definitely seems like it, but the only things that actually are shared in common by name are the transport belts, and yeah, that's actually pretty much so it for similarities that it has. Also, the basic materials like iron and copper. Of course, a game like this is going to have it. It's just kind of natural. I don't think that it's going to have a similar end like Factorio, and I think what's going to hold it back the most is the performance of the game, just because of how graphically intense this game is. I do think that's going to be what holds the game back from being a Factorio size game where you're able to just cram so much production into such a small space relative to the character. So I do think that by the time you get to a Factorio size mega base in Satisfactory, that the game will become unplayable just due to the amount of moving parts, the amount of numbers that are going to be going around, and a ton of other variables, including terrain and the limit of how many belts that you'd be able to cram into a single area. And also, you're not really able to have a main bus like you do in Factorio, where you have just a bunch of material going down one thing and you kind of take it off as you need. You can't just have that. You gotta have many belts just going everywhere, kind of like a spaghetti base in Factorio. So there are some similarities in the games, but overall, they're both going to have their own kind of fan base with a meh kind of group in between where they go like, you know what, I could live with either of them because they're both great games. And I do believe that I'm probably going to end up being one of those people, especially if the game has so much more to offer after it comes out. And yeah, that's all I really have to say. Actually, one more thing that I have to say is that this game is in alpha, meaning that everything is subject to change, like I said in the beginning of the video. So everything that you see in this video could be changed by the time the game actually releases. Now, I know that this video has been going on for quite some time now, so I am going to wrap it up here. I do hope that you guys like this video, and I'm going to do the normal YouTuber thing. And I'm going to ask for some likes down below. Also, if you want to help this channel grow, hit that red subscribe button to turn it gray, or I believe white, I don't know. Hit that little bell icon next to it because that will notify you for whenever a new video drops. I don't upload often, but I'm looking to kind of grow at my own pace. You know, I don't have the most consistent upload times, but they are getting better from going from one video a year at crappy quality to like 2, maybe 3 or 4 even a month. Now, I do live stream a lot just because, first off, it takes a lot less effort, and you get to see me play the games live. And yeah, I'm on Twitch with Phantom_Falcon, or I believe it's Phantom Falcon. I'm unsure. I haven't looked at it in a while, and honestly, I forgot about it. I do stream quite a bit over there, and it would help me a lot if you went over there and followed me, and that would allow you to watch me, you know, play Rainbow Six Siege and Factorio and other games like that. And that's all. I hope you guys did enjoy, so I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye. Holy shit, this was a long video.